This is Millionaire Moves with Mike Mendiola. I'm a lender. I've been a lender for now a couple of decades. This is Gabe Saavedra.
Saavedra.
Saavedra. And he's a realtor, obviously, right? So, Gabe, who are you with, and what's a little bit about your story?
I'm with Ferris Realty. So a little bit on my background. This is actually going into my whole campaign for 2026. I was a finance major out of the University of Houston. I was going to go and be in investment banking. And that was my big dream. I had a father in, the auto industry. I was thinking about maybe dabbling in that. And I think I had strolled through an open house or seen realtors, and everybody was like, oh, these people just go to happy hours and, smoke cigars on a Friday night. I was like,
Right.
whatever. Like, they're just, okay, like, go show me some houses. And then I really started to think about it, like, holy smokes, this is a market that you can capitalize on. And here in North Houston, of course, we have a ton of really great agents. So to be even competitive in this market, you can't be a part-time agent. That's all I'm going to say. If you're a part-time agent in the North Houston area, buckle up, honey bun, because there's some of us that practice every day. And that's just the truth of the matter. It's one of those marketplaces to where if you hop on and you grind your butt off, then you're going to do well. This market is going to treat you well. It's by no means friendly. Nothing's going to be given to you, but you are going to learn a lot of things very fast. So I've been in real estate for just actually going on 2 years now.
So, what's up, Gabe, man? You're welcome back, bro.
What's up?
How you been? How's the market treating you?
Good. I'm in Q4.
Yeah.
It's Q4. That's all I really have to say. I mean, shoot, I've been pounding the phone, getting out there, and it's just, you're going fishing for red snapper in Alaska. And sometimes it's what it feels like a little bit.
How was your November?
It was good. It was actually really strong. I picked up quite a few buyers, got a few listings in the work. I actually had a listing go live that we went under contract on in a weekend. We had 7 offers on that one. So that was really good. I've learned in this market, especially when, holy cow, you hit Q4, you have to be very competitive in a few different ways, pricing or product. And in this case, we had more of the pricing. I underpriced it 5%. And we drew in perspective a $300,000 house. We drew in 7 offers and got $25,000 overload.
Wow. So
within the same weekend.
So you had 7 offers in one weekend, even in this market.
Yeah. I mean, you have to create the demand. That's the biggest thing. Like, I have another one coming up in the Woodlands, another one that might be coming up in Artavia. And that's the conversation I'm having to have with everybody, because I have one right now. Ultimately, we can't, and you know this, I can only advise people. I can't make the final decision for them. Ultimately, it's up to both of our discretion if we want to work with them or not, if we can't align. I had one come to the market in the spring of this year. Super good friends of mine. They did not take my advice. They took it to a certain point, right? They're on the market with another agent, I think at like $499. It's like, we need to come down. If you even want me to entertain this, we have to be under $450. And they're like, because what I've noticed is sellers really, and I feel like this is where some folks go wrong. This is going to be a controversial episode, I'll say that. Where some folks, I guess, get off on the wrong foot is you associate your value or who you are as a person when it comes to real estate with what your house is listed for. Because when Mike comes on over to eat Thanksgiving dinner or comes on over to watch a football game and your house is $450,000, thinking your house is worth $500,000, ultimately it doesn't matter. I'm gonna just get straight into it. Put your ego to the side. If you're hiring a professional to work with you who does this every day and this is how they provide for their family, probably give them the time of day and understand where they're coming from. This is really me speaking from heart. But no, so they came to the market at $439 is actually what we came to the market at. It was neither. It wasn't the price and it really wasn't the product. The house needs a lot of work. And ultimately, my sellers have seen exactly what I future paced them for on photo day. I always dive real deep into price and why we're going to list it at what we're going to list it at and what the market really looks like, because photo day is typically on the week we go to the market. They didn't listen. They didn't. They said, we want to come in at this. I said, okay, that's fair. They met me in the middle. It's hurting them right now. They've been on the market for a little over 90 days. There's been a few houses that have sold because they listened to their agent. Now, they did everything right. They listened to me as far as staging goes, getting the house ready. When we have showings, they're out of the house. And it's not easy. They have 4 dogs. They have 2 kids. They get out of the house. Nonetheless, the price isn't there. So in a market where you can create that demand like I did on that other house, they listened to me. That seller was like, whatever you tell me to do, wherever I need to be, whatever I need to do, you tell me and I'll get it done. And they did. And these sellers did the same thing, except price. They didn't really listen. We've been on the market for a little while. A couple of other homes have sold. Now we're thinking about reassessing, and not to give the full game plan away on this one, but this is part of the reason why you have skilled professionals working with you. We're looking at, okay, how can we make the best of December, and what are we going to do as soon as Q1 comes of next year? Because that's when everybody according to everybody I talk to. Hey, we're gonna wait until after the holidays. Great. I have a holiday special list that I call. So if you're watching this and you're on that, I'll speak to you January 1st. But everybody seems to feel like, hey, January 1's going to come around. We're going to be suddenly ready to buy a house.
Right.
Is it true? Probably not. But most people are probably now going to be looking on AR or on Zillow or on homes.com. And as an agent, I need to have my clients prepared for what's to come Jan 1. Ultimately, I don't know, but I can position them the best to my ability. Off of my soapbox on that. But
well, I mean, it's a valid point, right? Because that's probably the biggest challenge you and other agents have, is just trying to bring realistic expectations on what they're going to list their house for, because they're so stuck on this price point in their head. And it's just like, hey, that's great that it's stuck in your head. That's where you want to be, but that's just not reality.
Well, I think there's several other things that go into price, right? Like I always say, it's how the property presents, right? Like if the house doesn't even look good in pictures, I want to say the statistic is about the first 3 to 5 pictures. If those aren't home runs, they're probably not going to look deeper. They're probably not going to see, oh, hey, let me call my agent. Let me call Gabe. Let's see if we can set up a showing. The other thing is accessibility. So when those people do want to go ahead and set up a showing, how quick can they get in there? I have my clients on a 30-minute timeline. If we can't get them in there in 30 minutes, scrap it. Probably not going to be a good fit, because if in a market like today's, where we have one of the most saturated markets with as many houses as we do, if I schedule a showing here and here, this one doesn't approve it, this one does, guess where we're going to look? This one, not this one, because they took forever. Maybe we'll go look at it, maybe. But at that point, I've probably already scheduled here and here and here and here. You lost. You missed out because you're taking too much time. I mean, what are you waiting for? If your house is on the market, you want to sell it, right? If not, take it off the market. Property condition is huge as well. There's some scenarios where we can't control it, right? There's like the tornado that blew through Spring.
Right.
We can't control that. If a tree comes through the house because a daggum tornado came through, that's not on you, Mr. Seller. I get that. Now, if there's, holes in doors, or if there's a broken window, or if there's a visible leak, like we need to get that fixed before we even come to the market. Because if it looks well and they can get in quick, but they walk through and they're like, holy cow, this thing smells like mold. What are we doing? Like, that's why it's, once again, I'm going to emphasize that it's very imperative that you have somebody that does it a lot, so they understand what these little things that buyers look for.
Right.
I would say, because my buyers have a short list of maybe 7 to 10 things. If we get to 10 check boxes of, we need to fix that, we need to fix that, we need to fix that, in this market, they're just going to go next door.
And how much of pushback do you get from the sellers when they're like, hey, we need to at least fix these things before you can start?
None.
No, that's good.
None. Because what I do is I bring in examples of what's on the market, and there may be a stellar example that sold in a weekend, just like I had. And there may be another one that's been on the market for 180 days. They're getting ready to expire. I will bring both of those in and I'll say, look at the differences. One's beautiful. It essentially looks like a model home, right? All the virtual staging, maybe they have actual staging done in the house. There's no, burgundy walls. There's no wallpaper. The light fixtures are somewhat nicer. There's small little intricate things that buyers look at now. It's the weirdest thing. On the last episode y'all watched, some of these younger home buyers walk in, and if the door handles are cute and black, and if the light fixtures are cute and black, and I don't even know, the light bulbs are LED, then holy smokes, the house is gorgeous. Right. So it's changing those little appearance things. It's not like I'm telling anybody, hey, let's go and do a full remodel, dump $50,000 into this house, and, we're going to reap the benefits of it. No, it's when I call them make ready, and it's really...
So the small changes, even those small little changes can make huge differences.
Oh, 100%. Well, I mean, if you just look at it, it's something really small that can age a house is like brass fixtures. If you have those little gold or copper door handles, the house looks old. It just does. Wood paint, if you have like taupe, a neutral tan,
gives you those
color
vibes, right?
Yeah, people are like, oh, this is grandma's house. If we just throw on a very basic builder grade white, just white,
right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The millennials, Gen Z, whoever, the younger group.
Even our house had brown cabinets, right? We repainted them to white, and you would think we reopened the entire kitchen. Right?
Yeah, you redid the whole kitchen.
And all we do is throw a coat of paint on the cabinets. Big difference, right?
Hey, we need to do this. Maybe we should shift this a little bit, because on the front end, I like reverse sell them. Like, why do you want to buy a house right now?
Exactly.
Like, interest rates are in the 6%. It's like you're renting an apartment right now. There's no immediate need for you to purchase a house. You're not having kids. Nobody in your family died. You're not getting married. Like, stay in the apartment for a little bit.
Right. Now, and you're talking about part-time agents, right? One of the things that we see, and we've seen it over the last couple of years, is somebody trying to do mortgages and be a realtor. That just doesn't work. right? Because especially with mortgages, it's specialized. There's so much knowledge that goes into what we have to know at the tip of the hat. Like, we have to know this information, and it's a daily grind every single day, as it is for a realtor. I can't expect to know anything that Gabe knows, or anybody that's been doing it for 20 years when they're doing it all day long every day. And if you're trying to do both sides of it, it just doesn't work, because you're giving a half product on both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're alluding to, is like, yeah, you're going to get smoked from people like Gabe, people like Corey, who we had on another podcast. Those guys are going to smoke you because this is what they do every day.
And I feel like it's also not being fearful of saying, I don't know, but I have 10 other people that do it just as well as I do in this industry. Why don't we hop on a phone call with them?
Right.
And I feel like that's where a lot of people get crossed. A lot of people want to do, real estate law, maybe, or insurance or mortgage lending at the same time as they're doing real estate. And I think it's great. I do think it's really good to be, educated in several different fields. I'm only a realtor. I know a good amount of things about qualifying for financing just through experience, reps, doing it for a little while. I absolutely do not advise my clients hard on what they should do. I say, hey, look, this is what I would do if I was in your position. Ultimately, you need to talk to this guy.
Right.
Go talk to Mike, sit down with him, ask him all the questions that you just told me for 20 minutes.
Right.
Half the time they do. They'll hop on a phone call with Mike. Sometimes they get a little too vulnerable.
Right.
I think we know what I'm alluding to. But that's ultimately what I want my clients to be able to do is, hey, go talk to this person, tell them everything you just told me, and Mike's going to be able to help you out in that field.
So that brings us up to this point, right? The 50-year mortgage that we're throwing out there, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about the 50-year mortgage. What is your general feel whenever you hear that word, 50-year mortgage?
Careful. Be careful. Be very careful. I was reading it. I was reading up on it actually earlier this week. I think it lowers your monthly payments. This is where I say be careful, because to the younger generation, you're like, oh, what do they call it? The quick fix? Like, yes. I can get into a house that's 20% less than what I would typically be paying with a 30-year. And oh my gosh, be careful. Be careful.
So when I get that and people are asking me about it, and there's been a lot of chatter about it lately.
Yeah.
Right. So, and it's very heavy one-sided. People are like, 50-year mortgage, crazy thought, like that'll never fly. But if you go back to the 40s when they brought the 30-year mortgage, people had that same thought and same conversations, right?
Yep.
It's a tool. It can be an effective tool if we use it correctly. And this is where we're going to have some controversy, is because I'm not ever advising anybody to stay in a 50-year mortgage, ever.
No.
Right? And there's dangers, and I'll bring up some of those dangers here in just a few. But
yeah,
if you are a buyer and it is the only way that you can get approved, because you can't get approved on a 30-year, my feeling is, hey, if you're a young person and you're just starting your career, and that you're going to be making more money, a couple of years down the line, you're going to be moving up in your company, then great. This product may be a tool to get you there, right? Our game plan, because I'm going to set this game plan up with everybody, is like, hey, we're going to take this 50-year mortgage, but you're not staying in this 50-year mortgage.
No.
We're going to refinance you as soon as you're able to afford a 30-year mortgage, and we're going to refinance you back down to a 25-year. And the reason that we want to do a 25-year is, one, we're going to get a better rate. Mm-hmm. Secondly, is like whatever equity you've already built into your home, we're not going to let you lose that equity, right? We're going to put you back in a 25-year, and now you're out of that 50-year, cycle, and you're not going to pay that, because if you stayed in that 50-year, now you're paying probably double the interest that you're going to pay on this 30-year. We would never want you to do that. But can it be an effective tool? And this is where people are going to push back and tell me I'm crazy, or I'm a lender, which I've already had some hate mail about that, and I'm just trying to push and sell mortgages. No, my job is to help people get into homes the easiest way, but there's a game plan along with it. I had a guy tell me the other day, oh, you're just pushing that and you're using it as a tool because now you can get a refinance back on the back end of it. It's like, without you guys even knowing, I offer free refinances to people, right? Just so that they can get into a better product. So it's not in it for me. I don't do anything for the money. I do everything because of helping people and get them to where they need to be so that they're in a better situation. The money will come if you help people. We talked about this last time. If you do anything for money,
what is the biggest phrase that will help you reframe that? If you're a business owner watching this, like, I'm going to go off on one little tangent real quick. As a down south Texas male, everybody wants to be all hard, wherever you're watching from. I'm sure if you're a man, you want to be very masculine. And sometimes we tend to put our guard up, right? I had a client, a listing out in Cyprus. oh my gosh, like, let me have it on the phone. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, I appreciate your nice words. And we got towards the end of the conversation. I ultimately ended up winning his business, but I asked him this question and it reframed his whole idea of thinking of what we do. And I said, who hurt you?
Right.
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Just like that.
Right.
And sure enough, this is why I'm going to go ahead and validate your feelings. If you're watching this, you want to go ahead and post a negative comment, go ahead. Like, we can talk about it. We apologize for anything that had happened to you. That's not why we're here. But this guy had gotten screwed over in a real estate deal. I think he had lost $30,000 or $40,000 on a real estate deal because his realtor did not know what they were doing. And in that case, I understand it. I do. Because if I was in his shoes, I'd be pissed. I would never use a realtor again, probably, unless I found one who was like Harvey Specter, just like loaded to the T. That was my guy. Yeah. Any other average Joe, no. I'm probably just going to negotiate for myself or be a for sale by owner. And I see why people do it, just as I would see why people would do the 50-year mortgage. And I cringe so hard at it because there's a few communities up here in North Houston, newer communities, and I've seen it. Geez, we're just hitting this from all different angles. There's a lot of people who do things for the appearance. And with what I do in my career, I get real deep and interpersonal with my clients. And I've seen some people that, maybe didn't put as much down on the front end and they don't really have much equity in their home. And this is where I want you to understand this getting into the 50-year. Yes, it can be a benefit because if you are a young professional, as I am myself, I have friends that are graduating college as well. And they're like, our career outlook looks great. We're ready to get into a house. And the 50-year mortgage has become a great conversation in that regard. You just have to be careful because at any given moment, say Mike loses his job, Mike gets transferred to Chicago, or Mike gets transferred to, Louisiana, wherever it may be. If you get a job Dallas, for crying out loud, right. You have no equity in that home.
Right.
You've been paying interest on it. What did we say that the total, like the first 10 years, you're pretty much only paying interest?
Pretty much, right? I mean, between that 7 to 10 year mark, you're not going to get hardly any principal.
Which, as a young individual myself, on my first house, I'm going to be putting 20 to 25%. At 21 years old, I'm going to be buying my first house. And I do that because if something happens, let's say for some odd reason I want to get out of real estate, I'm going to go join corporate America and I need to sell that house. If I'm in a 50-year mortgage, I put 3.5% down, 5% down, maybe 10% down. Best of luck. You're probably going to be writing a check at closing. That's the frame I would look at it from, because do I think a house is an asset? Yes, there's some very popular opinions that think your personal home is not an asset. I think it's something you should heavily consider as far as an exit strategy goes. Everybody thinks it's their final house, right? They're going to move in, live happily ever after, be in the house for 30, 40 years. It's not the truth. It's not, because I've seen it happen plenty of times.
What's the average time somebody actually owns a home?
7 to 10 years in this market. Yeah. Probably 10 years now, because we have the biggest disparity with interest rates. I mean, people bought in COVID 2.5%, 3%. I meet people every day and they're like, oh yeah, cool. What are rates at? And I'm like, in the 6s. They're like, cool. Give us a call when rates go back down to 2. And that's where I ask my more deep diving questions like, well, why did you reach out to me in the first place, right, Mike? I mean, clearly a reason you're needing to move, and I know interest rates isn't going to stop you. So what's the biggest reason? Because us getting back down to 2.5%, 3% is just unrealistic.
That's where you have to curb people's expectations, right? And it's just like, look, that was an anomaly. We're not going to see that again. We didn't see it before. The typical rate before COVID, we were 4.5 to 5.5. That was a regular, normal mortgage rate. People were still in the 6s that had lower credit.
Yep.
Right? So I know that the rates sound really high, but they're not that far off compared to what they really were.
No, and I think after we go through this year of us somewhat meeting an equilibrium point with interest rates, I mean, everybody's talking about the Fed rate cuts. Yeah. Everybody. And the whole reason they're bringing out this 50-year mortgage, probably because they're not going to be doing as many rate cuts. If this 50-year mortgage happens, why would it make sense for them to why would it make sense for the Fed to go ahead and lower rates back down to 3.5%? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and the thing is that people don't, they don't understand. And it's the economy really has to tank for those mortgage rates to really drop. So if the rates are dropping, that's because the economy really went down the toilet. And you're probably struggling at the job that you're at, or you don't have opportunities to grow in your career, right?
Yeah.
So everybody wants these lower rates, but the way that you're going to get there, the economy really has to just go worse than what it is right now.
What's in your professional experience, what is our perfect equilibrium if we get back there, the market's going to be kicking and going again?
I think if we get to 5.5,
naturally, no buy down, none.
My honest opinion, if we get into that 4.75 to 5.5%,
okay,
I think everybody jumps back in.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that's where we need to be as a whole, right? Because we want the Fed rate to get there. The Fed rate has to hit around 3%. Right now, we're a little bit over 4%, right? And with this new rate cut that we're expecting here in December, it's going to start inching that way, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. Their goal is to get it to 3%.
So with everybody listening, how realistic is that?
It's realistic, but it's not going to happen tomorrow, right?
Okay.
I think realistically thinking, to get to that 3%, we're probably in a 2-year cycle to get there. Right?
Okay.
The short term is, can we get to 3.5? Can we get to 3.75?
What would that put our mortgage rates at in the mid to high fives?
That'll get us to the mid to high fives.
Okay.
And then that's where we'll see a big push, especially if we get there by next summer or even third quarter of 2026. I think that's where you're really going to see housing just start booming. But then we got this 50-year mortgage that's being tossed out there with the portable mortgage as well, right?
Ooh, that's a hot topic. But I did want to ask, okay, so with, I want to say it's about 90% of homeowners are under 6% on their interest rate right now.
Right.
So I think naturally, to test what Mike has to say, if we get into the fives, I see no reason why people wouldn't move, because everybody right now is infatuated with the economy that we have with a good deal. Now, that's subjective to everybody. A good deal for me is going to be entirely different to Mike or, to Brandon or whoever, Kyle or whoever. It's going to be entirely different because it just is. Right. So I think naturally, if we get into the fives, we're probably going to see more movement, because that's been the biggest holdup right now. And the sad part is, when I have a family that's growing, come into a house, let's say they bought a new house in 2021, their interest rates 2.5%, 3%, and they need a new house, or not a brand new construction house, but they need to move houses, and they are so mentally caught up on this interest rate. Nonetheless, they have 2 kids sleeping on 2 bunk beds in a room that they are outgrowing. Like, the kids are daggum, and you're hitting their heads on the ceiling when they wake up, because they are too mentally caught up on this interest rate, and it's affecting their family. Like, I can speak very passionately to this, because there's people holding themselves back and their families back because they're so infatuated with this interest rate, where you don't understand that us trying to help you is us not wanting your kids to hit their heads on the ceiling anymore. Us not wanting you to slow down on growing your family because that's what you want to do. We understand that the economy is not where it should be, and maybe, work hasn't gone the greatest, but ultimately you have a family to take care of, and we're here. Like, hopping on a phone call is not us, great, all right, sweet, I just closed the deal. No, it's like, can we help you? What can we do to help you?
And the other thing is, like, okay, so, and we're talking about rates, and then they're like, well, I've got to get this rate. It's almost like when somebody's buying a car. When they walk in, right, they're like, I just need this payment. And they're like, well, yeah, we'll give you that payment. The car dealer, they'll figure a way to get you that payment. You may have to finance it for 7-8 years. Who the heck wants to do that? But they'll get you that payment. So it's the wrong way to look at it. And when I look at rates, I'm like, okay, you're at a 6.5, but you want to get to a 5.99, because that 5.99 just happens to be, that's where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And when you look at payment wise, we're talking about maybe $150 a month, $200 a month, depending on a $300,000 price point. It's not make or break. It's not the end of the world for you to buy that home, because if you bought that home, you're saving $1,200 to $1,500 a year. Are you telling me you can't come up with $1,200 to $1,500 extra a year to buy the home today than if it had to be at 5.99? You're holding your entire family back, like you said.
Just don't go to Chipotle twice a day, every day of the week.
Don't go to Starbucks and buy a $5
for a year. I'm guilty of it myself. I will say I'm going to be vulnerable, but it's not that hard to change. It's really not. Like, man to man, woman to man, like, it's not that hard. So if your family is struggling, or if you feel as if you need a new house and you're really caught up on this interest rate, give us a call, like and subscribe, comment down below so we know, raise your hand for us, please, so we can reach out to you and talk through what your scenario is. Because a lot of people don't feel they even have a shot at home buying. I've talked to a lot of people, Mike and I both have, and there's a lot of people that are renting, paying a lot of money in rent, $3,500 in rent, because their credit score is 20 points off, which you're going to hear about that on the last episode. There's now been an entire shift in the credit requirements. Yeah. So those individuals have now been qualified.
Right.
And they were individuals that counted themselves out from the beginning because they hear all this stuff, all this false information on their credit score. And some of you may not even know where to find your credit score, but they're paying $3,500 into somebody else's pocket instead of taking a higher interest rate, maybe even being at $3,200, but it's the principle of not being at a 599.
Right. And the thing is I can't tell you how many times I've done this over the years, and they're like, I can't pay that payment. And then because I comb through your bank statements. I go through it because I want to know what you're spending your money on. because you're telling me you can't afford this payment, but then I pull your bank statements and I'm going through just the last couple of months. And as I'm going through the last couple of months, I look at patterns. And the pattern that I see is when we talk about consumer spending. Consumer spending, and this one individual was spending $200 to $250 a week on eating out, going to Chick-fil-A, going to McDonald's, going out to eat. $250 a week, which is $1,000 a month on eating out. It's like, hey, maybe curb that in half. Hey, don't ever go out to eat.
I hope that wasn't mine.
I don't know. It could have been. But I'm just like, you're sitting here telling me you can't afford this extra $150 payment on this house that's going to change your whole family's trajectory because you have to go to Starbucks. You have to go to Target. You have to go and eat Chick-fil-A because, you don't feel like cooking that night. The money's there. You're just not spending it wisely. That's my biggest thing when I look at somebody and I'm looking and I'm checking things out and I'm trying to guide them and I see it and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's the one little minor thing that's holding you up.
Yeah. And it's just like, but that's where if you're going to another lender and they're just looking at the nuts and bolts and they're not really digging in, it's like, okay, this is where I get to educate people. And a lot of the times when I'm having those conversations, they don't even realize that they're spending that much.
So I had somebody actually raise their hand to me. They sold their house with another agent that they had used before, but they've become a much greater friend of mine. And through talking about my career and the overall stigma around real estate, I would say this is one of those people that has a skewed perception on realtors because something as small as your agent not letting you know if you purchase a new house, this is a nugget, go ahead and store it. If you're looking for a brand new house, store this nugget. The first 2 years of taxes is only on the land. And if you don't have somebody that dives into it or you don't have somebody that forewarns you about that, your monthly payment can shoot up, $500 a month, maybe $800 a month. So you need to sit down. You need to have the conversations. You need to dive deeper with somebody that actually understands what they're talking about. Because most people, there can be 10-year agents who still don't know that. Shame on you. I don't know how you don't know that. Most of them don't. In our marketplace, like I said, we're very competitive. However, this happened in our marketplace where a client was not made aware that their taxes were going to only be on the land for the first 2 years, and then you're going to get taxed on the $450,000 house, and guess what? Now your taxes a year are $12,000, $13,000. That is a huge problem.
I just had that conversation 2 days ago because the guy came to me and his price point was at $550. That's what he wanted to buy. And they go online, they look at these mortgage calculators, and they think they have a pretty good idea. And so he's looking at a new construction home. All he sees is that the taxes are lower. I bring it up to him. Now, keep in mind, I'm the third lender he's spoken to. I'm the first one that brought up, you do understand your taxes are going to be much higher after this first year or the second year. You're only getting this because they haven't really assessed the tax value of that area yet. So yes, your payment is this right now, but your payment's going to go up about $600-700 more. And when I told him that, he goes, what are you talking about? And so I had to explain it to him and explain taxes to him and all of that. And it completely took him out of that $550 price range that he was in.
You're in $450 now.
Yeah, exactly. And so now for him to feel more comfortable, and we went through the numbers, he really wants to be around $400, right? So now expectations been curbed. I got on the phone with the realtor. I explained it to him. I was surprised that this particular realtor didn't bring that up to him, but I'm not shocked because we see it all the time. Even title companies, and not to throw them under the bus, but they're not explaining that when these people close.
And I will say this, at the closing table, yes, I think it's title's discretion to go ahead and disclose that. But on the front end, that's really your realtor. Your realtor should know that when you're looking at houses. Your LO should know that also. And you as a consumer, now that you're watching this podcast, hopefully you share it with your friends or family, whoever's wanting to purchase a house. Understand that if they are going to purchase a new house, because right now new builds have done a tremendous amount of incentives to just compete. There's a lot of them that are having inventory held that'll probably be held into Q1, and that does not hurt, whether it's a private or public company, that does not help shareholder value whatsoever. Right. So if you're looking at these brand new builds that have the great 3.99% interest rate, they're offering, $50,000 in closing costs, incentives, design center, whatever it may be, just understand, please, because you may also go through their lender to qualify for the 399. Bet you the lender's not going to tell you. Understand that your property taxes are only on the land for the first 2 years. Please just consume that, take that in, understand it. If you're going to get a raise within the next 2 years, be our guest. Probably wouldn't bet on that, but just understand that. All right,
Right.
into portables. You want to just dive in?
Yeah, so you want to jump into portable mortgages. So portable mortgage, what the heck is it? And it's exactly what the word says, right? Portable. So this is for existing home buyers. Existing home buyers like, man, I want to buy this house, right? For someone like me, we want to upgrade to another home.
Yeah.
Well, we have a great rate at 3%. I don't want to lose that rate. So I have two options. I can say, okay, I'm going to rent the existing house and we're going to buy a new one. But the price point of what my house is now doubled from when I bought it. So not only do I have a great rate, I have a great payment. But if I go and buy another house, I have a much larger payment and then at a 6.5% rate.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, wow, that sticker shock just to see the price of that home to just get into the same type of home that I'm in now. But I want to upgrade. So it's going to be a much higher because of the interest rate. Well, what this portable mortgage does is it takes what my existing mortgage is. So if I bought, say, my home for $350,000, but I owe $250,000 on it, and I'm at 3%, I can take that $250,000, what I have left of my mortgage, and I can move it to the new home. But say the home is $700,000. Well, I'm at, $450,000 that I'm going to have to do a second lien on at that 6.5%. So maybe that doesn't make sense for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But say that I'm only at 320 and I've only got $30,000 in equity in the home that I bought. Now I have $320,000 that I can move to a $500,000 home and
at 3%.
Right, and now I can finance the second lien at $180,000 at the higher rate. Which, okay, I'll refinance down the road. That's what a portable mortgage is. So again, I think it's a specified product. It's going to help some people, but again, you just have to be very careful and get with a lender like myself, someone that knows and that can really explain it. Get with a realtor where they can help explain it because they've spoken to me and they completely understand it. But as far as a portable mortgage and what you're seeing out there with existing buyers that own homes, is that something that you think could be a benefit to them?
Here's the two sides of it, right? Consumer confidence would pick up, okay? What happens? I ask this to everybody who says we need to be at 3%. What do you think would happen to, let's say, a $600,000 house if interest rates went back down to 3%? You know how much more people could afford? You know how am I trying to say this? You know how many more people would be qualified to buy that house? I'll say it like that.
Right.
You're not going to just be competing with one or two people now. You're going to be competing with probably 10 or 15. And that's what we saw in COVID.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people forget how the COVID market was. I mean, we're talking $50,000, $100,000 over list. No option period, no due diligence period. You don't get to inspect the house. Dude, if you got an HVAC, unit.
Waiving appraisals?
Appraisal waivers, just getting into it blindly for just the sake of having a lower interest rate in a newer house. And I think that's what would happen if interest rates came down. So all that to say, I think the portable mortgage is going to be great. It's going to increase competition. Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides to it, right? Like the younger individuals moving up in the world, in a sense. You have your first-time homebuyer's house, then you go to buy your second or third house. You're going to be competing with a lot more because I've also seen people, that'll downsize from a substantially larger house, an empty nester. They have all the cash in the world probably. Right. They've probably lived in that house for a little while. Now you're competing with them to where, they have a portable mortgage, you have a portable mortgage, ultimately who has more cash and who's less susceptible to change as far as finances go. That's where I feel like it would negatively affect the market, ultimately because there's going to be more competition. Now, I say all that because the market would increase. I do really think that. I think homes would sell quicker. We'd get more money for the homes. Ultimately, on the buy side, you'd probably be paying more. However, you're still getting the lower interest rate. So across the board, theoretically, on paper, everybody's happy, right? But I think people overlook the downsides of it. As far as competition goes, you're going to be paying more for the houses. Like right now is the best time to buy a house. I will just go ahead and say that. Like I've been knocking heads off the wall.
Yeah. Shoe
buddy, like $1.3 million house sold for $970,000. Done. Assumable loan. Holy smokes, hardest freaking house I've ever sold. 3.5%. They're paying like $4,200, I think, a month.
Right.
On $1 million house on an acre with a pool, 5 bedrooms, huge house, nothing. And
they stole that house.
Oh my gosh, great deal. If y'all are watching this, I'm going to actually send this to y'all. Congrats. I love you guys. That was awesome. That's what we're seeing right now. You can get great deals like that. So if this portable mortgage does come out, 50-year mortgage does come out, the affordability of that $1.3 million house goes up, and then the $1.3 million is probably going to be justified. To whereas in this market, you can get that house for, $970,000, or even on I have one in the Woodlands right now that's under contract. They were listed at just under $600,000. Yeah. we're under contract like in the low fives, like 515, 520 is what we're under contract at. So,
and the biggest thing when you were talking about, like, you know, what we're seeing in COVID, right? The Austin market, what we saw during COVID, right? It's like those people were coming in and they were buying properties over 100,000, 150,000 over
unseen, no inspections, no appraisal.
That market is struggling right now because of where we're at. And
Yeah.
so if say the guy, he came from Silicon Valley and now he wants to go back to California, or he got another job offer, he's upside down on that house, right? And now he's in a bad situation because now he paid all this money over and the equity just hasn't been built to be able to afford that. And going back to what you're saying, if we hit those 3%, that's going to happen again. And because you're competing, and those offers back then, people were doing that because they had 50, 60, 70 offers in a weekend, right? So you have to be very careful it's wishful thinking for that, but then you're running into much bigger issues again down the line to try to buy that house because you're, like he said, you're not the only person looking to buy that house at that rate. The competition just goes crazy. People start acting crazy. Then what happens? They're like, I put offers in on 20 houses. I've lost everyone. Maybe just this isn't the time.
Let's just throw $150,000 at it.
Right. And now you done created a monster of an issue. And when a lot of people are doing that, now we have a big problem because the housing market's going to tank in that area. And that's what we're seeing in Austin.
I do really think if we get back into the fives, we're going to be in a great equilibrium spot. I sold a new construction house this year. For reference, we got to the closing table. I think contract price was $409,000. I still remember because my client was like, I don't know if this is going to appreciate. Like, it was an investment property. He's like, I don't know if this is a good investment. I'm like, look, on the front end, just from you holding this contract to the pre-sale to now, you're going to have close to $100,000 in equity. I was $10,000 off, but the appraisal came in at $499,000 just for holding the piece of paper and obviously having the funds to put down on the house and go through the whole process. But that's what we're seeing now. Prices are not inflated. They're very deflated. So as a seller, that may seem worrisome. However, if you position yourself in this market in a good spot, you can still make a good amount of money. And if you're buying and you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing, you can get to closing and have $90,000 in equity just waiting for you. Right. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know where you're looking.
And that's why I keep saying right now, and these next 90 days is probably one of the most opportune times for you to buy.
Instead of being in the red $100,000, why not be in the green $100,000 at closing? That's what I don't understand. I guess I understand both sides of it, right? I think it's the best way I can describe it. If any of you are car folks, it's like the Maserati, right? Holy smokes. Beautiful car, sounds great. Interior's, I'm not going to cuss. The interior is gorgeous. And then you get 6 months down the line, you're like, geez, man, fluids running low. Brake pads, I already got to replace them. This engine's about to blow up. Because you bought something that was pretty. You bought the new shiny toy, the 3% interest rate. What you don't understand is now you're in the dump $50,000 to $100,000 on something you overpaid for because now the market's inflated. When you could have got a good deal at a 6% interest rate, refinance when the rates come down to 3%. Now you have the equity. Now you have the rate. Your monthly payment's where you wanted it to be all along.
Yeah, and
you're on top.
Right, and that's what they keep talking about, right? Oh, the market bubble's going to burst, right? Because there's going to be an overcorrection. To get things back in line so things can be affordable. The one thing is like everybody still has this thing of COVID where they're like, well, if I buy, I want to be in that COVID. Well, knock on wood, let's hope we never go through something like that again.
Yeah.
Right? But that was buyers that jumped on an opportunity and they got in it. We are not going to see that again, right?
And the market prices have just now caught back up to what COVID inflated prices were. Looking at, when sellers bought their houses originally, they're like, great, how much equity do we have? Well, you buy up here, the market does this, right? It takes 4 years to come back in this case. Now we're like, let's say COVID was here, you're like right here. Okay, so you're still walking away with something. It's not this, because there's some people that bought early in 2020, even early 2021. They have a ton of equity in their house. But when that bubble burst and people were sitting here making huge, insane, overlist price offers, it's going to take you double the amount of time to get here if you start here rather than the person that started here.
Right. And if you're looking to sell again within that 7-year period, there's just not enough time there. Right? It's like if you're going to hold that property for 20, 30 years, then yeah, it's going to make it in its own due time.
I have yet to meet somebody that has sold a house or held a house for more than, I want to say that the max I've heard is probably 30 years. Mimi and Pawpaw live out on land. You know, they haven't really moved. I don't blame them. Shoot, I'd live out there too. Those are the people that are holding their houses for 30 years. If you're living in the suburbs, more than likely, you're going to have more kids, or your kids are going to go off to school, and you're not going to be in the house for longer than 20 years. You may be 22, let's call it, so you can tell me I'm right. Over 20 years, barely. And if you're not thinking about these things on the front end, it really may catch up to you. It just may.
And like someone in my situation, when we have a kid in college, we have another one that will be graduating in 3 years. You know, the house that we're in, we're going to outgrow it, or not outgrow it. We're not going to need all that space that we have, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so we have all this equity, but we can downsize.
Which, tying it back into the portable mortgage, if you still have, let's say, $450,000 on that existing loan, and you go to downsize from a 4,000 square foot house, you just want, 2,500. Let's be realistic. If you downsize from a 4,000, you'll probably be at like 3,800. Realistically, like 3,000, but you can still utilize that 450,000 in our current market area to be in a 3,000 square foot house. A nice house, you're probably looking at, 550 to maybe 600,000, depending upon where you are. So you're going to have that inflated interest rate on, 100, 150,000.
Right. And not to keep harping on the Austin market, but yeah, people in Killeen that...
You love the Austin market, huh?
Well, you got the Killeen, right? You have all of these military people that are in Killeen. And then when they have to move, or they've been relocated and they went over asking price because they had to get there, right?
And you have no equity.
No equity. And because you're just like, well, I got this and I got to have this 3%, or I overpaid. Well, now you created a situation for yourself that you could have easily avoided if you just would have spoke to the right individuals, a good realtor, a good lender that can explain these things and foreshadow things that could possibly come down the road if things don't work out perfectly for you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. And again, we go back to the portable mortgage and we go back to the 50-year mortgage and we talk about the things that they're lowering credit scores for people to get approved. All these ideas are being thrown out there because the one thing that all you ever hear is housing affordability. The younger generation, that's looking to buy their first home, I can't buy. There's no way for me to buy. No, you just need to get educated on what you're doing. You're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, and you're listening to this, you're watching all this stuff on YouTube, and you think that you're getting educated. You're not. You're getting bits and pieces from information that people are just looking to get you on the hook, get you captured. Get educated, get with a good lender, get with a good realtor so they can really explain before you make a big purchase, right? Because they always say the first big purchase of your entire life is buying your first home. Right?
Yeah.
So, and for someone like you that's looking to buy their first home here within the next year, how much research have you done? How much have you gone in to educate yourself? How many questions have you come to me and asked, hey, Mike, what can I do about this? What do I need to be here for this? We've had those conversations.
Well, at 21 years old, it's arguably one of the scariest decisions I've had to make. And I have advised over 30 people by the time I close on my house to purchase homes. Nonetheless, it's still scary. It is. It's a huge decision. It is arguably one of the biggest purchases you will make in your life. For most people, granted, there's people, trading online that are making $150 million trades daily. That's not typical. So when you're buying a house, it's one of the largest investments you make. And I've, thankfully for having Mike in my life, I've called him and picked his brain for probably an hour and a half time slots several times a week to just say, hey, dude, can you walk me through this? Like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I practice this. I work maybe, 60, 70 hours a week. So I understand all the intricacies of it. But as far as the financing side goes, that's probably where I would say you spend the most due diligence. The next would be, where am I going to be? Where am I going to be tying myself down for, the next 7 to 10 years? And don't be shameful of that. The truth is, for realtors and loan officers, is we truly work for free until you close on the house. So have at it. Like, if we're working together, I expect a phone call from you if you have a question. Don't go on ChatGPT. Don't go look at somebody's Instagram video. Call me and we'll talk about it. I talk to clients all the time, in the late evenings, because that's when they're off work, the kids are down to bed. Hey, we had a question, random spur of the moment. Can you help us answer it?
Right.
Absolutely. And if I can, if it's a financing specific question, if it's a title specific question, I have title attorneys. I have Mike. I will get us in contact with somebody who is able to effectively communicate that to you. And if it does make you nervous, or maybe it doesn't sound like the right fit at the time, that's okay. Like in the first podcast that we did, we're not hunting for a paycheck. I'm going to survive. I have all of this other stuff that I've worked on all of my other clients that it may be a better time for. So I'm not going to sit here and say, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean you're not going to buy? No, we need to buy. You need to figure out a way to buy. If you're not going to sell, why are you not going to sell? So no, sit down, talk to somebody, pick their brain, ask all the questions. There's no dumb questions. And if you think of a random question, write it down, text us, shoot us a call.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, like and subscribe. If you like this content, go ahead and comment down below. Comment, what's the scariest thing, I would say, as far as getting into a house? Is it the financing? Is it finding where your house is? Is it, I guess, the commitment to being into something for 30 years? Comment down below, what's the scariest thing about purchasing a house? Mike, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, going back to what you're saying, is like, one of the things is like, I get a lot of questions, and I'm sure you do too, is the school system. What does the school system look like there, right? All of those go into what you need to be thinking. And you may not be thinking that at the time when you're just trying to buy your home, but say you have one child and there might be 2 years old, you're not even thinking about where their school's going to be and the area that you're going to buy and how well is that school district. All of those things need to be taken into consideration because it's super important, right? It's super important for you. It's super important for your family. But to wrap things up a little bit and to talk about it, with portable mortgages and with the 50-year mortgage, it could be something that we may see common in the next 5 years, that it's a common thing. And again, it can be used as an effective tool. You just have to get educated on it. Mm-hmm. So for you, first-time home buyers priced out at a 50-year mortgage, what would you think? Yes or no on that?
It depends. It just depends. It depends on how volatile your career is. I have a few good friends that are in oil and gas. I probably wouldn't take out a 50-year mortgage. If you can't afford a 30, don't do a 50. Because in oil and gas, there's a lot of people dropping like flies. And it is one of the saddest things to see in my industry. I get real interpersonal, like I said earlier. And they're losing their jobs. Very highly educated people who've been in the industry for tens of years, are losing their jobs. So to be in a volatile position with a 50-year mortgage where you have little to no equity in it for the first couple of years, that is not a phone call. Because I say this to everybody. I'm having a Christmas event next week. And I'm okay with having all my clients there because I have never put my name on something I don't want somebody to call me about. If I get a call at 8 o'clock at night when I'm sitting down, getting ready to go to bed, and you're like, you son of a beep, calling me beep. It's like, I don't ever want to have those calls if it's not a good decision. If it's something you have told me is going to worry you and you still try and do it, I'm going to try. And like I said, we can only advise. We can't make the decisions for you. I want to avoid those conversations. So yes and no. I think it's really case by case. I would sit down with the both of us and talk through, one, what your career looks like, how volatile your financial position is right now. I would say, like, let's take a worst case, best case scenario, right? And let's land somewhere in the middle. If the middle looks good to do a 50-year mortgage, great, let's freaking do it. But the affordability for first-time homebuyers, I'd also say let's probably go look at some new construction. A lot of new construction are offering great deals as far as the interest rates go. On a 30-year fixed mortgage, I have one closing at the end of this month that my client's putting nothing down and her monthly payment is less than what she was paying for her rent. So sit down, talk to somebody. As far as a 50-year mortgage, I think it can be advantageous. I don't think across the board, however, it's going to be, for first-time homebuyers, an absolute yes.
Yeah, I think all those tools can be helpful. You have to strategize. You have to have discipline that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Right? So
most people don't.
Right. And that's where we come in. Right. We're going to bring up those items to you. We're going to discuss it. We're going to see if it makes sense for you. Most, like he said, most it won't. Some it will. But again, you won't know until you have those conversations.
I don't know what the exact percentage is, but most people say, hey, we're going to take out a 30-year note and we're going to pay it off in 15 years. I want to say it's probably like 98% don't pay it off in 15 years. The other 2% do. But realistically, I'm this type of person. If I have a deadline that's due, next week, I'm going to start working on day 6. I'm going to knock it out of the park, but I'm going to knock it out on day 6 because I have all these other things to do. And that's the same thing you're going to do if you sit here and say, hey, I'm going to do a 50-year note. You know what? I'm going to pay it off in 25, 30 years. You won't. You're going to run the whole life of the loan if you stay in the house. And in that case, you're not going to have much equity. So be disciplined. Know if you're not disciplined. Talk to somebody that's educated and understands where you're coming from and can advise you in the most non-biased way to make a good decision.
Yeah. And my cigar is almost up, so good time to wrap it up. But yeah, Gabe, good to have you again, man.
Appreciate it.
Nice to have you.
Yeah.
And again, Gabe Saavedra.
Gabe Saavedra.
With Ferris Realty. I'm Mike Mendiolo with the Responsive Mortgage. It's good to have you guys on the next podcast. We're going to talk about credit score, right? They're getting rid of the minimum credit score. So let's see what that's about. To kind of sign off, millionaires aren't born. They're made through a collection of smart moves and smart investments.